at babysitters and things. So I was sexually abused as a child. And that kind of sent me on a downward spiral to where, as a teenager, I was obviously looking for love in the wrong places and trying to, fill this void with different relationships. And in high school, I ended up dropping out as a junior because I felt completely stupid and unworthy because I had a reading comprehension problem. I just ended up leaving. There was a lot of bullying issues, mean girls in high school, and so I just walked away, feeling like a failure. Somehow managed to get my GED and go to beauty school, and I did really well there. I excelled there, graduated with a 4.0 because I was a visual learner, and I started doing hair. I was in a really good place until I met a guy that decided that I could be his punching bag, literally. I was in a very abusive relationship that caused me to turn to drugs, and because I was using it to self-medicate, going out, partying. I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but I was in that place, and because of the drug use, I actually started having seizures, and they were unexpected. It would happen just randomly. And so I had to lay down doing hair because I was afraid I would have a seizure while I was cutting somebody's hair and I'd hurt them or I'd hurt myself. So the one thing that I felt like I had going for me that I really excelled at, I had to walk away from that. And it was around that time that I met Chad. This is just so crazy because even in that, my life was so messed up, you guys. Literally, it was like Jerry Springer on crack. I'm not even kidding. So a guy that I had dated back when I was 19 died in a car accident, tragically. And for whatever reason, him dying gave me the strength to leave the current guy that I was with that was beating me. It was like something switched inside, and I was like, oh my gosh, here's this guy that I dated, that I was engaged to when I was 19 years old. He actually cared about me and treated me good, what I thought was good back then, right? And so it gave me the strength to walk out of that abusive relationship. And about a month after he died, I helped his family put together a benefit because they didn't have any money. And Chad's band, it's so funny and random, Chad's band happened to be one of the bands that came in and played for that benefit in this little bitty bar in Hayward? Was it Hayward? I don't know, anywhere, Hudson, Illinois. And obviously I wasn't looking for a relationship there, but back then I was a lot different person than I am now. But we met, I went home with him that night, because I was a hoe. Yes. I was a hoe back then. But a week later, we fell in love in 1 week, okay? 1 week, we knew it. We had this long distance relationship. I lived 2 hours away. We talked on the phone every single day, because I don't think he had a job then. This is getting really good, right? So I don't have a job, he doesn't have a job. He's singing in rock bands, living in his friend's attic. But, we fell in love. We connected. And so a week later, I moved to, I want you guys to understand that anybody can do this business, okay? I'm serious. So a week later, I moved 2 hours in the direction that he lived, and he moved in with me that night. He was supposed to come help me move in, but he never left. And 2 months later, I got pregnant with our oldest son, and we were both so screwed up back then. We were partying together, we were drinking together, and we were smoking the devil's lettuce together, and so when I got pregnant with Gavin, my oldest there, I was just like, holy crap. We are so screwed up. How are we going to ever be good parents? Because we didn't have very good role models back then. Our parents were a little unconventional, and it was just, let's just say, we were in a really bad situation. And so I can remember that Chad and I fought over, we're like, we need to go to a church. We weren't saved, obviously, but we need to go to a church because there's got to be good parents in church, right? Somebody our age that can teach us how to take care of this child that we're going to bring in. And So we fought over what kind of church we were going to go to, like literally like screamed at each other over what denomination church we were going to go to. And finally decided that we were going to go to this one specific church. And when we walked in, and our expectation was like, okay, we're going to find good parents. We're going to find some amazing parents because I have no clue how we're going to do this thing. And so we showed up, and we're there, and it was a similar experience to what Leah and Gio had, but we just got swept up in the emotional. The Lord's presence in that place was amazing, and we both ended up getting saved, and we accepted Jesus as our Lord and Savior that day. We made a radical change that day. We still screwed up, we still did dumb stuff, we still fought with each other. It's been a faith walk all the way. But something changed in us, and I remember, neither one of us, we still weren't working. I somehow managed to save up $4,000 while I was doing hair, and I had that little, cushion, and somehow we blew through that in a matter of like 3 months, and it was time to figure out, like, what are we gonna do? Like, I can't really do hair anymore. He can't continue to just sing in rock bands, and so we decided to go back into the military. And, well, I kind of told him we were going to go back in the military.
Yeah, because I saw a guy walking down the road, and I'd been in the military right out of high school, and I saw a guy walking down the road, and he had like a new uniform on, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of fun, maybe join back in the reserves or something. So I said, let's go just talk to a recruiter. So I'm thinking, do this little part-time thing. By the time we're leaving, she's like, let's go all in. She's red, so she's like all in, right? So we're like, okay, let's try 3 years, see how it works out with our new family, and that was the best option we had at the time.
So we ended up going to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. You guys keep hearing about all these people at this specific church. Well, we were obviously brand new Christians, and we got there and we just grew in our faith exponentially. We've met some of the best friends. 3 of my 4 best friends on this entire planet came from that church, and one of them is here right now. That's Becky Hewlin back there in the back. She's been a big part of me becoming the person that I am today. She literally was there with me when Chad couldn't be, this is going to go partly into our story, because this is my 3rd pregnancy, and I can't remember if he was in training or what the heck was going on, but he couldn't be with me during our 3rd child's birth. And to have a friend like she is that steps in his place and was there with me and was my old birth coach. I think we wanted to punch the nurse in the face a few times together. But what was crazy is she was just as pregnant as me. Our kids are a week apart, so they didn't know who was popping when we walked in there. But she's all that to say. She's just an amazing, amazing friend, and I love you.
So the Army. So our mind, we're thankful, of course, we were in the Army, and just to go back a little bit, when you heard a little bit about Jaree, but when we met, I was probably twice as screwed up as her. I had claimed bankruptcy, I had been divorced, I had 6 warrants for my arrest when we met.
I bailed him out of jail, though.
I was smart enough to not keep it a secret and let her know right away. I was like, hey, before we go much further, let me tell you the realness. And she's like, oh, it's okay, all my boyfriends were like that. Pretty much. I met her dad for the first time, and he's like, does this one actually have a license? And she's like, actually, not right now. So that's where we were. True story. I mean, we were like, I was almost 30, and living in my friend's attic, literally. So
we were in love.
So we had to start from scratch, and the Army was a great do-over. And I got to, it's really humbling when you're 30 and you get bossed around by a bunch of 20-year-olds in the Army who, it was rough for a few years, but we just really dug into the church there and made some incredible friends, and we just started, we had to repair our credit, because our credits were like, I didn't even know you could get into like the low 500s, the high 400s. You can't really buy a house with credit like that. So stuff just started working out. I started promoting in the military, and we started, got our first house, And, we're just, finally things were going well. But then as I started promoting through the military, and like Jaree shared, I decided to become an officer. So I had to finish college and do some other stuff, and finally there become an officer, and I'm like, wow, now I've arrived. But the more my kids grew up, and the more I missed, and the more I promoted, the more I missed my kids growing up. And so at a certain point, it's like, do I really want to do this for 10 more years? And we had no other options, really. And it's so interesting to me that, and there's some other things that happened right in that time. I had a good buddy that I went to officer candidate school with that got killed in Afghanistan, had promised our kids a vacation, and they were literally, we were like counting down the days for Disney World, and then the Army canceled that vacation, and just some stuff happened. And then, look at this picture. This was a defining picture for us, because
So when I got started in the business, obviously I was a stay-at-home mom. I was homeschooling my 2 older kids. My youngest, Elijah, who's autistic, was in diapers. And crazy enough, the person that introduced me to this crazy rap thing is actually my best friend, Becky, back there. And she had her 6th baby? 5th or 6th baby at that time, and she was going to try rap afterwards, and I did everything in my power to deter her from doing it, because I was a hairdresser. We did weight loss raps in the salon, and I'm like, look, that's water weight, and it's not, I was like, don't do it, you're wasting your money. And I'm just so thankful today that she didn't listen to me, because she used the product, she had great results, and it piqued my interest enough for me to want to go ahead and try it for myself. And so I tried the wrap, had amazing results in the first one, and it was a no-brainer. I was like, oh my gosh, all my friends are going to want to try this, so maybe I can at least get some product for free, or pay up, make $300 a month so that we could pay off some student loan and credit card debt. And I got so excited about those results that I shared with everybody. I ended up wrapping like 50 people my first month. Literally, again, stay-at-home mom, homeschooling. Chad was still in the Army, so he was gone all day long. And so I couldn't go and do a bunch of wrap parties. I just invited everybody over. So when Elijah was sleeping and napping and the other 2 were doing school, I just kind of had impromptu, just people coming in the house. They'd come in, they'd leave with a little baggie of greens, and I'm sure my neighbors thought something crazy was going on. But I went emerald the first month, diamond the second month, because we just got crazy and excited and wrapped a lot of people. I don't know, 3 months into the business, we found out that Chad was going to have to deploy. So I had been a military wife for quite a while at that point, but this was literally going to be our first deployment. I don't know how God kept him from deploying the way that he did, but I turned into a blubbering idiot, because I was like, oh my gosh, we've been so dependent on each other, and what am I going to do? I'm living in a city where I really didn't know anybody. I had no friends there, and no family very close by. And so I remember getting into this huge funk. And you don't have to be a military wife to get into a funk, because I know there's a lot of you in here right now who feel like you're in that funk. And I was good just to be able to take a shower or feed my kids. Like, I was just depressed. I didn't work my business at all. But what is crazy is that I kept getting those checks. I had gone diamond, and because of all that activity that I had done those few months, I was still getting a diamond paycheck, so I was still making great money, and that was huge. Like, when I realized that, oh my gosh, we're still making money and I'm doing nothing. Well, you want to flip to the next one? So he was gone one night. I'm going to be a blubbering idiot up here, so I'm sorry ahead of time. One night, now this is my 3rd baby, okay? He was my 3rd baby, and so you moms, you know that with your 3rd one, you're not like freaking out checking on them every night to make sure they're breathing, and like you're just not, you're used to it. But this particular night, it was about, 11 o'clock at night, and the Holy Spirit just kind of nudged me. The Lord nudged me and said, go check on him. Like, you need to go check on him. And so I went to his room, and when I opened this door, I could smell blood. And I turned the light on, and when I looked in his crib, he was completely covered in blood. There was blood everywhere. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know if somebody broke in and stabbed him, and I didn't know where the bleeding was coming from. When I can remember picking him up, and he was lifeless, and I set him on my bed, and I opened his diaper and realized that the blood was coming from there. It just pulled out both sides. Somehow I managed to call 911 and get an ambulance on the way, but when the ambulance got there, he was bleeding out faster than they could get blood in him. And it was very unlikely that he was going to live through this. And I didn't have anybody there because I didn't have any friends local to me. And I just remember feeling so helpless because I couldn't even call Chad because he was in Afghanistan and tell him what was going on. He had to find out on Facebook. And what's even crazy, okay, so just so you know, my child is okay. Obviously, Elijah's alive and well. He ended up bleeding internally because he had an extra piece of tissue on his stomach that caused him to start bleeding randomly. And so he had a life-saving surgery that he needed, but the entire ride to the hospital, when they were hooking him up to blood, it was just, like, I didn't think that he was going to make it. And I hope that none of you ever have to go through anything like that. But I let that drive me. Once we got through that, and Chad was finally able to come home, because, of course, he was in the military, and they have to follow protocol, and even though they knew that the dire situation of what was going on with our son, he still had to fly in the opposite direction and return in weapons and do all this stuff. When he did make it back, finally a week after Elijah's surgery, we just decided that we never wanted the Army or anyone else to dictate whether or not we could be together as a family in a tragedy. And so we took that and we ran with everything we had in this business. Like, that drove us. We went to our first conference about a month after all this happened. And do you want to talk? Can I keep talking? Okay. And when we watch people walk across the stage, it's the